everyone. Welcome to another Midweek with Max. Sorry, I've caught something in Denver, so my voice is a little out of it, but moving towards mainnet launch. So as a reminder, we are launching the sort of private but not, or public but not publicized mainnet. So basically mainnet for the Discord community tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern, I believe. And then on the 12th, we'll be launching the full public mainnet with press releases and announcements and everything publicly. And so during that week, from the 5th to the 12th, you'll be able to start tunneling assets over to Hemi through either the canonical tunnel or some of the partner tunnels, and staking those in the staking contract. And as a reminder on the staking incentives, so the way it's going to work for at least the first week is going to be 1 point per dollar per day of assets staked in the staking contract. And that is a zero risk staking contract. It's just putting funds in basically a token locker. You can pull them out at any time. There's no lockup or anything applied to it. And then the starting on the 12th, we'll be introducing new incentives for providing liquidity on DEXs and lending protocols. If you do that prior to the 12th, you will still get back credited points. But the staking contract will be as good or better points for the first week than any other activities you can do on the network. And so we encourage everyone if you're going to bring assets over in this sort of semi-private mainnet week, to put them in the staking contract. That'll be activated on the UI, so you'll be able to go to app.hemi.xyz tomorrow morning, go to the staking contract and stake whatever assets you want to stake. The assets supported, there will be tons of Bitcoin LSTs and LRTs, some ETH and ETH LSTs, LRTs, Hemi's native tunneled Bitcoin as well. The Bitcoin tunnel will be up and running, and also some stable coins, USDC, USDT, DAI. We'll be putting out a blog post very soon with the list of assets and more info on how to actually use the staking system, but it's fairly self-evident once you get the assets tunneled over how to do it on the portal. But more details coming out on that very soon. And then the other announcement is testnet incentives are going to end Friday at midnight UTC, which is 7 p.m. Eastern time. And so you can continue doing testnet activities through this Friday. And this is really important. You need to have all of your POP addresses that you did POP mining with linked to Absinthe before Friday at midnight UTC, because that's what we're going to use over the weekend to credit everyone's POP points with the deduplication. And so you need to get all those addresses linked to Absinthe before, again, Friday at midnight UTC. We're putting out some announcements about that to give additional clarity on the timing and have it in writing. But if you haven't yet linked your POP addresses to Absinthe, please go and do that this week. And then you will see your POP points show up over the weekend. For mainnet points, you will be able to start earning them tomorrow when basically the mainnet tunnel goes live on the main application site. You won't see those points reflected until early next week. So through the end of this week and this weekend, you'll still see the testnet season incentives and points in Absinthe. And then early next week, still figuring out the exact date because there's a few things that have to land on the Absinthe side. But early next week, then the points dashboard will start showing the mainnet season. So you'll be able to go and look at your historical testnet points. Testnet season will be basically completely closed. No new points can be earned. And you'll start seeing the mainnet points back credited starting tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern. Those will show up in the Absinthe dashboard early next week. So with that, a lot of work on the back end, just getting final pieces in for a good mainnet launch. So infrastructure improvements, more partner onboarding. We're still working on getting some of the partners who have deployed onboarded onto Absinthe. And so some of the DApps, even if they are usable, mainnet day one, they won't show up in Absinthe until we get Absinthe properly integrated. So we'll announce more details on those as we get closer to the 12th, when we announce those mainnet incentives for some of the partner applications. But the important thing is between the 5th and the 12th, the best place to put assets is the Hemi staking contract. And there will also be multipliers on some of the assets. So some of the partner Bitcoin, LSTs, LRTs, some of those will get, I believe, a 1.5x multiplier. Some of them may get a 2x multiplier. We'll publish details on that soon. Hemi BTC will get a 2x multiplier, and then stable coins, USDC and USDT will get a 2x multiplier. So we'll publish details on that soon, but that's the high level of the points for mainnet starting tomorrow, and then come back on the 12th and check in and see how the incentives have changed, because we are going to start titrating off the direct Hemi staking contract. There will still be points earned there, but we are going to start titrating those points down at or around the 12th. Maybe it's the 14th or something, but we'll start reducing the points for the pure Hemi staking contract to encourage people to start moving those assets to DEXs and lending protocols, places where they're actually productive and can be used for liquidity for stuff users want to do on the platform. So I think that's it for incentives. I'm sure we'll get into some more details in some of the questions, but I'll kick it back over to Rick.
Oh, we will definitely get back into it. Do we have any updates from Party Central, Phil?
How's the sound now?
It's way better. I mean, anything is way better. So
I'll get my update in between songs, I guess. The main thing I want to focus on in my update is something I was really struck with last week, which was the emergent behavior that you're seeing on the network right now. And it's really, really exciting to see because, I've talked a lot about our biz dev wins and the stuff that we've done at conferences and, all the stuff that you do as a protocol, as you're building it, as you're marketing it, so on and so forth. But you don't really start to have fun in this space until you start to see people picking up what you're putting down. And what we've seen lately has been great. I'll point to three things in particular. One is I'm glad to see in our audience we have representation from the hair token. So evidently a group of you have been quite taken by Max's lovely mane and have decided to make a meme coin out of it. God love you guys. I'm also very interested in you've seen the Hemi Bros. They're making a punk-like PFP collection. So again, not something we planned, not something we poked or encouraged, just things that people are doing, and that's what we like to see. And then finally, the folks over at Mint Park, you've seen that they've created a Hemi badge, and going into the weekend, it was minted like 18,000 times, and then coming out of the weekend, it was 84,000, and it stands at about 89,000 as of today. And again, this is just from people who are really excited about what we're building and just want to be part of the fun. So I guess my only message for my update this week is, we love to see more of that. The story that I always tell is that one of my mentors, when I was in Los Angeles for 19 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days, was actually a gentleman who had built back in the day the 3 top websites that had to do with the Black experience in the United States, and it was AOL, Black Voices, Black Planet, and Africana.com. And one day he had kind of a crisis of conscience, he was telling me, because it turned out that no matter what he built, it turned into a dating site. And it didn't matter what he wanted to talk about. So let's say he wanted to talk about Black photographers, right? And so eventually, the thread about Black photographers would get down to, hey, I like your work. Can we go out and get a coffee or whatever? And he was actually rather despondent about that for a while until his boss told him, he said, don't despond over it because your community is going to tell you where to go. And that's a sign of success. And so remembering that lesson, it's been great to see that people are taking what we're building, they're taking the great community that we're building here, and they're picking it up and they're taking it a little bit. And that's what I like to see. So yeah, that'll be my update this week. But all I got to say is we love to see more of that. So spread the word about those projects and tell your friends.
Right. That was our Carnival correspondent Phil. Thank you. All right, we
You
gotta.
know, just goes to show how much I love all of you that I'm here talking to you guys instead of being out at Carnival.
I mean, that's a really good point. I'd rather be at Carnival. No offense to anyone. I also love you all, but Carnival sounds like a blast if Phil's speakers are any indication. All right, we gotta.
All right, back to you, brother.
All right, so, oh dear God, why is okay? The first question is when mainnet. It's next week. Next question. Um, but Max, you
Must be
alluded
new here.
you alluded to something happening tomorrow as well. If you want to expand on that, uh, this is probably a good time to recap that.
Yep. Yeah. As we announced last week, tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern, we're basically doing sort of public mainnet, and so basically it's for the Discord community. Everyone who's in the know can onboard onto the network and start staking assets on mainnet as of tomorrow, and then the official full public go live. All the partners for mainnet day one onboarded with documentation, instructions, all that's coming on the 12th. And so tomorrow, everyone here on Discord, you'll be able to go to app.hemi.xyz. You'll be able to interact with mainnet through there. You'll be able to tunnel assets over, and you'll be able to stake those. And then again on the 12th, that's the main big bang public launch basically. And so still in the process of getting TVL onboarded, and once it's onboarded, getting it put into protocols. So getting the TVL partners to set up, put liquidity in DEX pairs and lending protocols. So all that's ongoing during this week between the 5th and the 12th, basically. So 5th is public mainnet, but not heavily publicized. Still working on getting TVL deployed. Some partners are still deploying. And then the 12th is the big bang launch where we're publicizing it outside of the community.
Right.
And just to clarify, incentives for mainnet activities will start tomorrow. And so tomorrow, as soon as we go live on the portal, you can tunnel over assets, you can deposit them in the Hemi staking contract, and that will start earning points. You won't see them on Absinthe until early next week when the mainnet season goes live on the Absinthe front end. But you are earning points for having those assets staked as of tomorrow morning.
All right. Yeah, Han River, trust me, you do not want that role. But that is coming soon, by the way. We'll have a surprise probably next week regarding what Koki just said in a chat. Max, when tokenomics?
Relatively soon, we're going to be announcing more info about that over the next probably couple of weeks to a month and a half. I think I can announce this. We're also starting on the next phase of a research report that's going to have more of the tokenomics information in it as well. There are still some things on the tokenomics side we're finalizing. So for anyone who hasn't seen it, we did publish high-level tokenomics with Impossible Finance when we started the private node sale. Those tokenomics are correct, but there's obviously more details to give on some of the allocations. So that will be coming in the coming weeks to a month and a half.
Righty. When will testnet incentives end? That's Friday at midnight UTC, correct?
Yep. And so just to clarify there, the testnet and mainnet seasons are overlapping. So the mainnet season, you can start earning points, like I said, tomorrow morning. Testnet incentives will end Friday midnight UTC. So during the period between tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. UTC and Friday at midnight UTC, 11:59 p.m. UTC, you can earn points on both testnet and mainnet. And if you're earning points on testnet, that's credited towards the testnet point season. Obviously, if you're earning points on mainnet, that will be credited towards the mainnet points, which will show up early next week on the Absinthe dashboard.
Right.
So a little bit confusing. Hopefully that cleared it up. And we'll be publishing information in writing that people can reference to understand all the mechanics there a little better.
Let's see. When will testnet itself end?
So testnet's never, in air quotes, never going to end. It's just the incentives for testnet are ending. So testnet, we're going to keep it up. It's going to be the place where we, test out new updates to the network prior to them going live on mainnet. So when we get to stuff like decentralizing the sequencer or our modified BitVM vault system, those will all be deployed on testnet first, tested thoroughly there, then deployed on mainnet. So testnet's going to continue running. You can keep doing stuff on it, but it will become basically a testing only environment. It won't be incentivized. The exception being there may be times where we do want a lot of people testing a particular thing on testnet. And so at that point, there may be some small incentives for doing things on testnet at some point. No promises, and that's not, the default. But if we do that, any points you do earn on testnet in the future, were we to do that program, those would be credited towards the current mainnet season we're in. So for example, if it's, May and we're testing a decentralized sequencer, then, that would still be part of mainnet season one. And if we incentivize that, you could be doing some stuff on testnet and earning mainnet points for that. But by and large, testnet incentives are ending on Friday, again, midnight UTC, and there will be no more testnet incentives unless there are specific things for short periods of time we want people to test. Everything will be on mainnet, but testnet as a network will continue operating.
So there we go. I have two things I have to unmute every time, and I just forgot to do one. Max, do we have anything for Poison regarding the Veriblock announcement?
No updates, but stay tuned. Stuff's still moving on that side.
All right, I can field this one. Can you put more info from Midweek with Max into announcements? So actually, every Midweek with Max is accompanied by a blog post that recaps it. You can find it right on the Hemi site. But we will start doing recaps when we post the videos. So great suggestion and heard. And yep, we will absolutely do that. Um, Okay. Is Hemi Bros an official Hemi project or a sponsored project? Hemi is promoting them a lot, and a lot of users think this is an official NFT collection.
It's not official. It's something the community organically spun up. So we're, reposting information about it because it's a early adopter of Hemi technology, an early, you know, development group that's launching stuff on Hemi, but is not officially sponsored. We've not, audited the contracts or anything. It's just emergent community behavior that we think is cool and we want to elevate.
All right. Just to clarify, because there's been some follow-up questions. When incentive points close on Friday at midnight UTC, is that when the snapshot will be taken?
Yep, yeah, exactly. So basically, the way it's going to work is the pop points indexer, the thing that you can see on pop stats, that will stop indexing new Bitcoin blocks as of midnight UTC on Friday. And so whatever you see there at 12:01 a.m. Saturday morning UTC on the pop stat site, that is the official uh, snapshot of all the pop mining. And then we're going to do the same thing on the testnet side, where basically we will configure Absinthe with a ending block, which is going to happen right, 11:59 p.m. roughly. And when testnet gets to that block, Absinthe will stop counting new points. And so that uh, officially the 11:59 or thereabouts on Friday, again UTC, is when snapshots both of testnet L2 on-chain activity and the pop mining will be taken and finalized. And so you won't see any new points appear in your account after Friday, other than when we get the pop points published. And I think there's a couple miscellaneous one-off points that we're allocating to people for some manual tasks that did not get added to Absinthe yet. So the only thing you'll be seeing over the weekend is those points getting added in, but those are all for stuff that you earned prior to Friday at midnight UTC.
All right. Who is creating the hair token and why is it called hair? You guys are going to have to ask Alex, our lead community moderator, for all things hair related. And also, you should check out their Discord and their website and everything else. They can give you a more deep dive than the Hemi team can. Moving on, will there be any rewards for users who have contributed to Hemi through GitHub?
Nothing at the moment, although we will be spinning up grants and bounties, a grant and bounty program, hoping to have stuff published for that by the public mainnet launch day. And so for specific things, we will be providing points. If you, excuse me, if there, sorry about that. If there's specific, like large things that you want to contribute, reach out to us and we can talk about doing a bounty for that. So, say for example, you wanted to make an improvement to add, I'm just making this up, I'm not saying we do bounty for it, but a locally hosted pop mining stats dashboard you can see in your web browser. If you want to do something like that, reach out to us. We can talk about what kind of a bounty we could do. Prior to TGE, those bounties will be in points that we credit to you on mainnet. And if we're doing any of those bounties and then post TGE, those bounties could either be in points or in tokens, depending on the nature of the bounty and what you're spinning up. But anything that gets incentivized from a development perspective, that'll be through the grants and bounty program. So if you did, PR, fixing a typo or something in code, much appreciated. But we're not going to be doing like carte blanche points for any sort of commit or activity or PR in GitHub. It'll be through established and agreed upon bounties and grants, basically.
All right. Okay, Josh, have you ever played the game Uno?
Is this a reverse card?
This is a reverse card because he asked me a question, but quite frankly, it's kind of on him. So, Josh, if you don't mind unmuting, because I have a question for you, sir, that you had asked me. When OG roll and when more Discord rolls?
Rick and I are currently working, and all of the community moderators for that fact, working on more Discord roles currently. We expect to have a few of them out within the next week or so, but the OG role and more roles will likely be after mainnet.
Thank you, sir. Sorry to Uno reverse you on that, but I mean, honestly, I was just going to ask you that question anyway. So, all right. When will the whitelist node sale end?
Still no date for that set yet. Obviously, given current market conditions, and everything else going on right now, we're just focused on mainnet. So, if you want to buy a node, the private sale is still open. Again, everyone who minted a Demos only me ID prior to when the private whitelist went live, your address is whitelisted, so you can participate if you still want to. As for when we're going to spin that down, still talking to VCs and KOLs, seeing who wants to get in. And obviously, mainnet stuff's been taking precedence over that, so still need to revisit that post mainnet, post the public official mainnet launch on the 12th, and probably in the next week or two we'll announce an end to the private sale, maybe 3 weeks, and then as far as the public sale, still TBD, and that depends a lot on market conditions as well. And so right now, focused on mainnet. If you want to participate in the node sale, it's still open. You get as a reminder, a 10% discount off the sticker price of the nodes. And then when we do the public sale, it'll be basically no discount, or if you use referral code, you'll get a 5% discount, and the person whose referral code you use will get a 5% discount. So if you do want to participate, the private sale's the time to do it if you're whitelisted. But no end set to that yet. We'll announce more info on that soon. But yeah, the public sale timing is going to depend on market conditions and a lot of other things. So no hard dates for any of that yet.
All right. When running a pop miner on mainnet, if we use Bitcoin and pop miners are rewarded with Hemi tokens, will there be a halving system for the Hemi token?
So talking about pop mining on mainnet and then the halving for it. So there won't be a halving mechanic. The way that pop points are going to work, or pop points initially pre-TG, and then after that, just getting Hemi tokens outright. The network can basically emit up to 5% inflation per year for pop mining. That usually it'll be a lot lower than that, but it has a maximum cap of 5%, and it'll emit based on how many pop transactions it's getting versus what it's targeting. So it's going to be targeting 5 pop transactions per keystone. And so if it's getting 7, it'll reduce the rewards it's paying out. If it's getting 3, it'll increase the rewards it's paying out. up to that maximum 5% yearly emissions limit. And that's not going to, at least the current plan is not to have that having at any point in the future. Far in the future, we're going to hand over a lot of things on the network to a decentralized governance system. And so part of that may, no guarantees, but may include the ability for governance to vote to lower those POP incentives over time. And so if it's, we're 5 years out into mainnet and it's clear that 5% emissions are never going to be needed for paying for the POP security, then at that point, maybe governance could lower it. But basically 5% maximum, but network only pays out what it needs. And there's no halving mechanic. For now, it's just 5%. Basically forever as a maximum. Realistically, assuming Hemi has a reasonable value, it's probably going to be a lot lower than that. But that is that maximum threshold to obviously avoid any sort of hyperinflation activity. But short answer, no halving, just 5% max emissions. The actual emitted emissions depend on what the network needs to pay to get its target POP mining redundancy, essentially.
Okay. Well, yep, we're still on some token questions. I'm sorry. Regarding the incentives, are you more focused on diluted token allocation or fair allocation? For the OGs, it says, but I think diluted or fair.
I don't think those are, maybe I don't understand the question, mutually exclusive. I mean, all of the tokenomics, when we're looking at what incentives we're giving for testnet season, mainnet season 1, so on and so forth, that's all based on fully diluted initial circulating. So we're looking at it, we're doing the math based on the 10 billion total initial token supply. And just to clarify on that point, most of that's not going to be on the street for a while. A lot of that is, for the seed round, for example, those will be locked up over a multi-year period with, there will be a cliff and then emissions over a multi-year period. Obviously, the node sale people, the information is public for those, unlocks, the 10, 20, or 30% TGE unlock of the token allocation for each of those nodes. So those will be available early supply. But there's 10 billion total initial tokens. Then there's up to 7% emissions per year. That's 5% for POP, and then 2% for sequencers, and a small part, like 0.1%, is carved out of that for baseline publishing batching activity, proposing batching, which we're calling collectively publishing activity. And so all of the testnet incentives, mainnet incentives that we're considering, we're looking at it in the context of that initial FTV of the 10 billion initial tokens, basically.
Okay. Thoughts on ETH moving from proof of work to proof of stake?
Oh, that's a good one. How long do we have?
Oh dear God.
No, I'll keep this one. I'll keep this one short. Proof of work is the ultimate, form of digital security, digital proof. It is pure. It is, it can't be manipulated in any weird. I mean, obviously, there's attack vectors against any consensus protocol, but it is, the most pure form of basically converting electricity and computational power into security in a decentralized network. It is the most permissionless system because you don't need anything but hardware that you can buy in order to participate. And so you're not gated by, needing to own a particular token or whatever. But that being said, personally, and this may not be a super popular opinion in the Bitcoin world, but I think we only really need one ultimate, proof of work network, and that is Bitcoin. And if all of the, conversion of computational power into crypto economic security, if all that happens through Bitcoin, then we can reuse that in other parts of the ecosystem. I think that unlocks the secure use of protocols like proof of stake. And so, proof of stake on its own, you have weak subjectivity. People can get old keys from a year ago and create a network or a chain that looks as legitimate as the current canonical chain. There's issues with true finality, and you have this trade-off between finality and liveness that you have to figure out. And it's one of those kind of unsolvable problems where you just have to optimize for the best solution that makes sense for your network. But with Bitcoin being able to layer Bitcoin's proof of work security on top of a proof of stake system, it eliminates a lot of those issues. And so I think in the context of, Ethereum moving from proof of work to proof of stake, I think in their sense and what they're optimizing for with, fast, consistent blocks, proof of stake makes a lot of sense. And it also benefits, the economics of the chain. Obviously, the ultimate win, I think, would be for Ethereum to inherit Bitcoin security. I don't think, I'm not sure if we'll ever see that in our lifetimes, but I think that'd be the ultimate goal. And I think overall, comparing proof of work to proof of stake is a great protocol that you can use and bootstrap very easily. That then, if you're inheriting Bitcoin proof of work, you can solve a lot of the inherent issues that proof of stake does come with.
Wow, that was quick. That was all well done, sir.
Could have been a lot longer.
I was like timing it. I was like, oh, we got another 5 minutes of this. All right. We answered that one. Will Hemi tokens allow us to use BTC as gas?
So taking a step back just to talk about gas mechanics in general. So mainnet day one, the only gas token on the network is Ethereum. At some point, we are going to enable Hemi tokens as a way to pay fees on the network, and you'll effectively get a discount by using Hemi tokens. The way that'll be implemented is basically Ethereum that's paid on as gas fees once we have the Hemi token enabled for gas. That'll be converted on chain to Hemi tokens before being paid out to the sequencer or sequencers once we decentralize it. And at that point, when we add Hemi tokens, there's a good chance we'll also add Bitcoin as a Hemi Bitcoin specifically. So Bitcoin tunneled over our canonical tunnel system. We'll also probably add that as a alternate gas payment option as well, and that'll go through the same conversion as ETH. So Bitcoin will almost guaranteed be supported as a gas token at some point. The Hemi token will definitely be supported as a gas token at some point. And for any assets that are supported as gas tokens that aren't Hemi, so I'll add Bitcoin and Ethereum, those will be converted to Hemi tokens on chain when they're collected by the protocol. So the Hemi token doesn't, as the question's worded, the Hemi token doesn't allow you to use Bitcoin tokens as gas, but once we have gas payments in Hemi tokens, we will most likely enable gas payments in Bitcoin tokens as well, if that makes sense.
Right. Let's see what we got next. Oh, dear God, that's a lot of questions about pop mining. Max, how many questions about pop mining do you want to answer?
Let's try to rapid fire here.
Okay, perfect. When will pop mining on testnet end?
Friday at midnight UTC.
Love that for us. When will pop miners receive points on Absinthe?
Over this weekend. So by Monday morning, when you check Absinthe, you should see all your pop points credited. And again, reminder for anyone who wasn't here at the beginning when I said this, you need to link all of your pop mining addresses to Absinthe before Friday at midnight UTC, because over the weekend, that's where we're going to be doing the deduplication with Absinthe. And so basically, Absinthe is going to send us all of the, your primary address and all of your linked addresses. We're going to feed that into our pop points indexer. That's going to consider all the pop mining activity across all those addresses, including your primary one if you used your primary for both L2 activities and pop mining. Some people did that, and that's perfectly fine. But it'll take all of your addresses that are linked. It will query all of the pop mining activity that all those addresses have done since the start of the incentivized testnet. It'll consider those as if that had been done by one address, and then that total amount of points will be reported to Absinthe and associated with your primary address. So if you have addresses X, Y, and Z, and address X used for on-chain activities only, so you're doing tunneling and doing DEX swapping and whatever. If that's your primary key in Absinthe, and then you link your keys Y and Z, and those are two different keys that you did pop mining on, over the weekend, we're going to take all the pop mining activity of addresses Y and Z and X, but in this case, X didn't do any pop mining. We'll take all the pop mining activity of Y and Z, treat those as if it had been a single address doing it, run the pop points calculation. That's the same one that you're seeing on the pop stats dashboard for single addresses, and then reporting that value to Absinthe associated with your primary address, which in this case was address X. And those should show up by, we'll be sending those in over the weekend, and they should be there by Monday morning when you check Absinthe.
All right. Luckily, a couple of these you already covered, so we can rapid fire these. Can everyone contribute to be a pop miner on mainnet?
Yes, and we'll publish information on how to do that soon and the economics you need to be aware of. But yeah, absolutely. It's permissionless. Anyone can run a mainnet pop miner. Just do be aware of the economics that we'll publish soon so everyone can understand how it works. Because that's obviously the mechanics on mainnet are a lot different than testnet. Testnet was if you pop mine, you get points. Yay. Mainnet is the protocol is adjusting the pop rewards paid out based on how many people are pop mining. And so uh, you'll want to know basically, how many other people are pop mining on the network, what the current reward is, and base whether you do pop mining on, your assessment of the pop points you're earning relative to the Bitcoin fees you're paying, basically. So details on that we'll publish very soon. And but yeah, everyone will be able, if you want to, you can run a pop miner on mainnet. Obviously, we encourage everyone who wants to do it, but in the context of understanding the economics that you're participating in. So more details on that soon, but absolutely.
Right. I'm going to move on past pop mining because you covered most of these. This question was actually asked the last 2 weeks, so I'm not asking it a third time. Um, just go back and watch Midweek with Max last week and the other week. Um, okay, here we go. Oh, this category is called long ones. So, yay for us.
Oh boy.
Ready? Yep. All right, let's be honest. The market isn't favorable for launching right now. It almost feels like the worst possible moment to do so. That's optimistic. There's a global correction happening, along with some escalations on the macro front. I'm sure you're discussing possible scenarios with investment funds and partners. Is there a scenario where you would wait for a more positive market, or will this not have a major impact on the project overall?
Good question. So I'd separate out launching a mainnet versus, doing a TGE. Overall market conditions are very important for TGE, and that's why, previous weeks I've said part of why we don't have a, TGE timing locked down is because there are external factors. It matters what the market's doing, both crypto and, macro global economics. For a mainnet launch in particular, that's a lot less of a concern. Obviously, there's some effect like if there's if all the assets are worth less than your TVL number is lower with the same assets that you have on chain, right? But that's applying to everyone in the crypto ecosystem equally. So for a mainnet launch and getting people to start, bringing over assets, providing liquidity, earning mainnet incentives, there's really no reason to delay a mainnet for overall market conditions. But for TGE, definitely that is something we're keeping a close eye on because that's where market conditions really impact projects.
How does the team assess the current level of participant engagement? Do they see network activity aligning with their expectations?
So participant engagement, it's obviously a complicated thing to track. There's a lot of almost vanity metrics in the sense of things like EOAs. It's you don't know if that's one person with 100 accounts or 100 people with one account. And so that's part of why we spun up and incentivized Demos early on in the testnet was to try to actually get a good understanding of the number of unique users. Obviously, some people just wanted to play in testnet and didn't do Demos verification. Uh, by and large, the results we've seen from Demos, I think were close to or slightly over 100,000 unique verified individuals. So that's I'd say exceeding expectations. That's been super exciting to see that growth. And then starting with mainnet, the main focus is going to be on actual on-chain assets, both from a TVL perspective of what is the liquidity in the pipes of the DeFi protocols, but also what's things like trading volume, things like participation in non-economic protocols, or at least not traditional DeFi finance tools, but things like NFT marketplaces and other eventually a Bitcoin MEV marketplace. And so testnet, the biggest or the most reliable metric there was definitely the Demos verified users, and then mainnet the attention shifts over to actual economic activity and assets. And obviously Demos is still relevant. We're still going to be doing stuff with it in mainnet as well. And the cool thing with Deimos is from a developer perspective, and like I probably say every week, Hemi is really an infrastructure play at the end of the day. We're trying to provide the network that connects Bitcoin with Ethereum, that lets people do all kinds of new cool things in DeFi using assets from both networks, that lets people build new types of applications that interact with Bitcoin in a much more bare metal way than you can do on even most all other Bitcoin L2s. And so, seeing the growth of the protocols that people build on it, that's also a huge metric for engagement. So I'd say three areas, unique users, economic activity, and then developer activity with, new interesting protocols being launched and how engaged those protocols are with the Hemi ecosystem and their users on Hemi versus if they are a multi-chain protocol, what they're doing on other chains they're also deployed to. But as for expectations, I'd say everything so far has exceeded expectations and been super exciting for an incentivized testnet. Absolutely.
Max, do you enjoy talking about current market conditions? Because I have another question regarding it.
Sure, let's do it.
All right. In the current market, early sell pressure can significantly impact the token's stability. Have you considered implementing long-term staking incentives where miners or early participants benefit from holding tokens for N days rather than selling immediately? Additionally, could a portion of network fees be allocated for periodic buybacks to create organic demand?
Good question. So for the first question, long term, staking incentives, absolutely. That is part of the more detailed economics that we're still finalizing and will be releasing in the relatively near future. The goal is basically to not just be doing staking for the sake of staking. That's a tongue tire. But to be doing it in ways that actually create economic value for the network. And so obviously once we get into the decentralized sequencer, there's a huge security benefit to the network to encouraging staking as well. But yeah, there will definitely be incentives for staking Hemi tokens and longer commitments to staking that and providing economic security in the form of sequencing, collateral for doing tasks like publishing data to Ethereum, and also participating eventually in protocol governance as well. And then what was the second part of that question? I
Oh
think
my
you
God,
were on.
I'm
There you go.
so sorry. Way up, one of my sources was not unmuted. Additionally, could a portion of network fees be allocated for periodic buybacks to create organic demand?
Potentially, that is a mechanism we've looked at. So, like I mentioned earlier, once we transition to the Hemi tokens being used on the network for gas payments, we're going to basically implement a system where any non-Hemi token that's used as gas, so ETH and most likely Hemi Tunnel Bitcoin, Hemi BTC, those will be converted on-chain into Hemi tokens at the time the fees are collected by the protocol. So if you paid, 0.001 ETH in transaction fees, that would be converted into Hemi tokens by buying those Hemi tokens through an on-chain DEX and then paid out to the sequencers. As for whether that would be part of, some larger, like most of the protocol fees collected, because we are using EIP 1559 gas mechanics similar to Ethereum. So most of the fees that are collected by the network are not automatically paid out to the sequencer. They go into basically a network vault. And historically on L2s, that's been used for obviously paying like the DA fees for publishing data to Ethereum, and also for I think some projects have used those for like retro PGF grants and whatever. And so there is definitely a mechanic on the table for using those fees that are collected, and they all will be converted into Hemi tokens. But using those fees that are collected and putting those into some sort of like evergreen fund / network DAO. Details on that haven't been finalized yet, but it is definitely a mechanic we're looking into. So, short answer, once the Hemi token supported for gas payments, all gas payments and other tokens will be converted into Hemi. The question is, what exactly happens to those collected fees converted into Hemi? Are those put in, a DAO? Are they paid out to different network participants, and in what ratios? That's still being determined.
All right, that that brings us to, unless anything else came in recently, Josh, but otherwise that brings us to the more meme questions, as we've been calling them. Serious question. So that's a good start. So take it very seriously, Max. Will hair have staking? Like the longer you hold, the lusher and fuller your bags get. Or do we risk male pattern baldness if we dump too soon?
I have no idea what's going to happen with Hair Token. Stay tuned, see what Alex and team do with it. It's an unofficial hilarious meme token, and so no nothing from the Hemi team officially on it, but it's just it's a fun meme coin at the moment. But
All
yeah,
right.
male pattern baldness definitely. Hold your token so you don't go bald. That is the utility.
I,
Is
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of the hair Hemi status indicator.
that is a good one. Max, I don't know if you've seen that yet, but yeah,
I
these
have
guys are
not, no.
wild. Someone should really post that in chat if they have it handy, because it's absolutely hilarious. Um, well, as a follow up to that, when bald token, Phil, any any insight?
Oh man.
Why did I get that question? Uh, there are, near as I can tell, plans for a bald token. But if somebody were to create it and deploy it on Hemi, I wouldn't fight them. Being bald myself.
Boy, I Josh, is this it? Did we really get through all those? Oh well, there's the obvious. Max, when Rap God?
Uh, Never.
Okay, sorry,
I think the
sorry, Greg.
internet's better off without that existing.
I personally,
But maybe someday.
I nominate Anubis or Hadu to do Rap God. You guys have been challenged. Do Rap God and upload it to Discord. And Phil, if they do Rap God, can we get it on Hemi Mame?
Oh, totally.
All right, there you go.
You can go to you can go to Sue.com and then have it you just give it a prompt and it'll do a rap for you. You know, just we've done it before. Remember we did the X Spaces Blues. I don't know if you remember,
I
if you
do
remember that.
remember that.
Where like we were so happy with the move to Spaces and we had a big end of year extravaganza and it cut us like what 15, 20 minutes in. So yeah, if you go to Suno, suno.com, and even the free version, you get, I think, 5 free AI generated songs per day. So there's plenty of room to create music that way. I actually prefer, I put prompts in ChatGPT and then I feed the prompts to Suno because usually you get better results. But we've made like Hemi songs in the past and stuff like that. So if we can't have Rap God, you've got that at least.
I'll tell you this though, if someone actually does absolutely slay the first verse of Rap God and then like do the initial chorus as well, F it. We'll give you a Rap God role in Discord.
Right, exactly.
Why not? So yeah, upload a video of you absolutely slaying the first verse of Rap God, and you'll get the Rap God role in Discord. We'll make it specifically for this. That might. Oh wait, hold on. There's one more. Um, I think this is more hypothetical, but Max, what's your opinion on this? Why did the ETH team move from proof of work to proof of stack? Any hinted benefits that we can't see?
I mean, there's definitely benefits to proof of stake. You can have much more reliable block timing. Obviously, this depends where you sit, but the energy efficiency narrative, especially in the context of, uh, trying to attract a lot of groups who are, at least at the time, concerned with ESG initiatives. I'd argue that proof of work is never a waste of electricity. It's a valuable conversion of, and at this point, most of the Bitcoin mining power is using electricity that is, basically dead weight. It's extra electricity on grids. It's, there's even people burning off unusable natural gas from oil fields and converting that into Bitcoin mining power. So, and the other thing is Bitcoin's contributed to building out electrical infrastructure in a lot of, economically underserved areas of the world. So being able to, basically subsidize the electrification of, third world country areas. And so I don't agree with the ESG narrative, but that's definitely one that a lot of people point at and agree with for going proof of stake. But I'd say the main benefits from a technical perspective, more consistent block times. It's not in the case of Ethereum in particular because they were already, bootstrapped and up and running and, had a lot of proof of work mining power and a lot of security. But there is something to be said for newer networks that are launching, being able to use proof of stake as a easy way to bootstrap security with, a native token or, economic security borrowed from other protocols. And that's, not something you can't use economic security to create proof of work, right? You have to actually have machines mining and consuming electricity. So there's definitely benefits, but I think the ultimate goal is combining the two together. That's what we're doing, and basically getting all the upsides of proof of stake and solving the downsides with layering Bitcoin proof of work over it.
Right.
And Ethereum also obviously benefited economically. Going proof of stake creates a a reason for and a utility for the native token, and so there's a lot of economic benefits to proof of stake systems as well.
Okay. What is Hemi badge? Do we get Discord roles or other rewards for it? No on the Discord role. I who is Hemi badge? Is that Mint Park?
Yep,
It
that's
is.
Mint Park.
Okay. I think you'd
Yeah.
have to ask them, unfortunately.
Yeah, mintpark_io on Twitter. They're the guys. They're the guys making it. They're the guys promoting it. If you look at our partnership announcements on our blog, we announced our collaboration with them, completely separate from the badge token. We announced that they were going to be among the first, if not the first, NFT marketplace available on Hemi. But yeah, I mean, if you have any questions planning to do with that badge or whatnot, that's all on them. Go ahead and track them down.
Yep, and not an official, Hemi project or anything. That's something a third party, in this case, Mint Park, spun up. Obviously, it's exciting to see activity and stuff going on. People deploying on even Hemi testnet, pre mainnet is awesome. As for no Discord roles, as Rick said. As for incentives, nothing planned. There's always the possibility, and this is not specifically to the Hemi badge, but just for anything in general. If a protocol catches on and it's getting used and people are engaging with it, there's always the opportunity for some sort of points incentives or something to be put around it. And so whether that's Hemi badge ends up being something we do that for, or another NFT project or whatever, TBD. But there is always anything that comes onto the network as a protocol and creates activity and engagement. There's the potential for incentives to be applied to that, either starting at a certain point or even applied in a retro PGF style. So nothing formal there. Nothing's been decided or even let's be honest, discussed so far. But for any protocol, that is always an option.
And to wrap things up, what will be the purpose of Hemi Hatchling's NFT on mainnet?
So far, no purpose. We are looking for fun stuff to do around it, as well as some other NFT stuff that we've talked about, which will stay tuned for that. So no use cases right now, like mainnet day one. There's nothing to do with the Hemi hatchling other than look at it and transfer it. It will be tradable on NFT marketplaces. I'm not sure if those will be available on the network day one, but when they are available, just like any other NFT, they will be tradable. For now, it's basically just a on-chain OG badge. It means you were on testnet very early on during the incentivized testnet. And as for future utility, still looking at options and fun things we can do around it. To throw out some ideas, not committing to any of this, but there could be something around some sort of points multiplier for certain tasks. There could be something fun with staking and some sort of staking the NFT and getting some small something or another. It could be maybe used for early access to some sort of a protocol in the future. So nothing promised. For now, it is just an OG badge. But if anyone does have any ideas for the NFT, we're always ears. And it won't be some massive economic boost to own one, but we are looking at some fun small stuff that we can do around it.
And speaking of NFTs, Phil, do we have anything to talk on that front, or should we hold till next week?
I think you're on mute, Phil.
There I am. Next week.
Okay, love that. So
It's show business, my friend.
Oh, right. All right. So, okay, we do have one more. I'm pretty sure we answered something very similar to this last week, but what the hell? That's showbiz, baby. You said we can link 10 accounts to the primary account. If I link like that, can I get rewards for all 10 accounts? Because I have 50,000 plus points per account, and all my account ranks under 10,000. I'm curious to know if I will get rewards for all of my accounts. I'm almost positive we get that exact same question last week.
Yeah, we definitely answered that last week, but there may be some new people who didn't hear that, so I'll go ahead and answer it. So the way that it works is, so taking a step back, testnet incentives overall are deduplicated, which means if you had, two addresses that you were doing on-chain, DEX swaps every day on, the total amount of points you're able to earn from those two accounts for that day is the same as what you could earn if you did all that same activity on one address. So say, for example, there was a day where you could earn, 2,000 points for doing swaps. If you earned 1,000 points on one address and 1,000 points on a second address, those would add up and you'd get all of the incentives from both those addresses because that's 2,000 or less. But if you did 2,000 or say 1,500 on each address, you would be capped still to the 2,000 points limit for that activity, regardless of which addresses you did it on. And so we're doing the same thing on the pop mining side, where basically you earn rewards that are based on the consideration of all the pop mining activity from all the addresses that you link, but they are deduplicated, and so you will earn the same rewards for those 10 addresses collectively as if you had done the same amount of pop mining activity that all those 10 addresses did on a single address. So again, if you have two addresses, and it's not quite just adding up points in the pop deduplication, because the calculations for pop points, and if you go to the testnet.popstats.hemi.network page that I'm posting here, you can look up your address. You can see a full audit report of all of the points that you earned on a particular day for a particular task, and based on percentages as well. So if you were in, better than at least 10% of pop miners, you got extra points. Better than at least 25% extra points, so on and so forth. So the way it'll work is if you have 10 addresses, we will, and that's the deduplication that we're doing this weekend. We'll take all the addresses that you link together. We will take all the pop mining activity from all those addresses, treat it as if it was done by a single address, run that activity through the pop points calculation algorithm, and then the result of that is the total points that you earn for pop mining, and those are credited to your, primary absinthe address. So if you did, for a particular day, you mined 3 keystones on one address and 2 keystones on another, and those were all unique, so there wasn't overlap between the 3 and the 2, then that would be counted as if you had one address that mined 5 keystones that day. And then if that put you in the top 75%, so you're better than at least 25% of the miners, you'd get the 10% points of 200 and the 25% points of 100, so you get 300 total points. Even if both of those addresses collectively were also in the top 10%, and just adding them together would have given you 400. So all the activity from all the linked addresses is added together, treated as if a single address had done that, and that's your total points allocation. So if you have a bunch of addresses, and the same applies for bonuses as well. So there are bonuses you can unlock for, and this also shows on the per address audit page. If you're a pot miner in the first 30, 90, or 180 days, if you mined 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, 25,000 unique keystones, and if you mined on 30, 90, and 150 unique days, there's bonuses for each of those, and they stack. So if you mine 25,000 keystones, you also get the bonus for 10,000 and 5,000 and 1,000, and those will be also based on the aggregate of all your addresses. So if at least one of your linked addresses pot mined in the first 30 days, you get the first 30 days bonus. If collectively those 10 addresses mined 5,000 unique keystones, you get the 5,000 unique keystone bonus. If collectively those addresses mined on 90 unique days, you get the 90 unique day bonus, so on and so forth. So you will get rewards for all the addresses, but it's deduplicated and treated as if all that activity happened by a single address.
All right. You got time for a really well thought out but kind of dumb question from the intern?
Let's do it.
All right. Um, what the hell does this even say? The world seems to be in turmoil, both politically and economically. There seems to be some hesitation regarding projects like meme coins, etc. The question is, how do you feel about John Cena's heel turn? I
That
have
is a
no
very deep question.
I have no idea what the first part had to do with the last part, but
I will say, as most things in professional wrestling, they are highly correlated with the S&P 500, and so I think we're just seeing that play out as usual. Nothing unexpected there. Um, is John Cena still even doing things? I
he
haven't heard that
apparently
name in years.
he came back and sided with The Rock, and now he's effectively a bad guy, and it's making headlines like all over the world. I think it's like the announcement of that is something like the third most retweeted post in the history of Twitter.
That is hilarious,
Um,
and
so
definitely heavily correlate. The only reason he partnered with The Rock is the current economic situation, obviously. So
yeah, it
it
has to be.
tracks.
Yeah. So no strong opinions either way. I guess is that accurate? Would you say?
Oh man, yeah. Interns. Where did he get his economics degree from?
Um,
I wanna see their department audit.
I think Arby's. I don't know.
Arby's. Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah. All right.
The,
Well,
the rundown one next to the Long John Silver's, right?
yeah. Seriously, one of those combo fast food places.
We
All
serve
right.
fish, we
Well,
serve chicken. We might mix them up for you.
yeah. Why the hell not at this point? All right. Well, that brings us to a timely close for this week's Midweek with Max. Thank you all so much for joining us. As always, we greatly appreciate it, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention our moderation and community team, starting with our intern and his stupid wrestling questions. Anubis, Ajit, Alex, Avi Creator, Foxstar, Funky, Hadu, Koki, Lyco, No Tears, Yahoos, and of course, New Size. You can see them all in Discord. Check out the hair token project that these crazy kids are working on. And I'll turn it over to Max and Phil for outros.
Awesome. Super exciting week with mainnet going, sort of live, well, live, but sort of public tomorrow, which is going to be awesome to see. Stay tuned in the next, less than 24 hours for, mainnet getting started guides, information on the staking, information on the multipliers for points, how and where to onboard on the mainnet and stake tokens. And yeah, exciting week. We got a lot of partners in the process of deploying or in the process of integrating with Absinthe right now so that a lot of additional incentives can go live on the 12th. I do want to mention, I think I mentioned this at the beginning, but just to clarify, there will be, so if you're onboarding assets between tomorrow morning and the 12th, the best place to put them is Hemi staking. So you'll get the basically maximum points by putting them in the staking contract. We will be on the 12th announcing additional incentivized tasks. So that'll be putting liquidity on lending protocols and DEXs, and there will be some incentives for trade volume up to certain caps that we're still working on figuring out where to initially set those to. So those will all go live, and you can interact with those on the 12th. If you do go and put liquidity in a DEX or a lending protocol prior to the 12th, you will be back credited with those points, but they will be the same or less than the points you can earn in the staking contract during this week. So if you want to liquidity mine, you're more than welcome to on any of the protocols that are already deployed. For example, Sushi is deployed and live, and you could go set up a liquidity pool or provide liquidity to an existing pool if you wanted to. But to maximize the points that you can earn in this next week, the Hemi staking contract that you can get to through the main Hemi portal starting tomorrow morning is the ideal place to park those assets. And then come back on the 12th, 13th, and we're going to be revising or titrating some of the Hemi staking protocol points and allocating relatively more points to productive things on the network, so liquidity mining on DEXs and lending protocols primarily. And so on the 12th or the 13th, you want to come back checking on the updated incentives and decide at that point if you want to leave tokens in the Hemi staking contract or deploy them to some protocol where they actually creates economic value for the network. But either way, super exciting, going live tomorrow, and the main public Big Bang release on the 12th, so getting geared up for that and finalizing partner onboarding. And stay tuned for more information in the next less than 24 hours.
And as for me, my only update, team, we're 10 minutes late for our brainstorm, guys. Gotta hop. Always working for you guys. Always working for the amigos and the amigas. And also, of course, tell your friends. Again, I'm very proud of the fact that we're the only protocol, at least that I'm aware of, that has every week founder level access, rain or shine. So definitely tell your friends about the community building here. And no sleep till mainnet. Here we go.
I like
Awesome.
that someone referred to Josh as Josh Cena.
But
Bravo, whoever did
New
that.
meme token.
Oh yeah, when Josh Cena coin. All right, we gotta go. Take care, all. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week, and of course in Discord.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right, ciao, gang. Bye.